hello again. A couple people told me I should do more vlog shit like this, so I'll try it. If you like it, cool. If you don't, who gives a shit? But it's just easier than typing a bunch of stuff. So I'm just sitting here staring. You can see my hand shaking from the fucking camera. So yesterday, I was intending on driving like a 6-hour loop. I was gonna go up through Rocky Mountain National Forest or Park, whatever it's called. It's fucking awesome. But I'm in Colorado Springs. Once I got up by Boulder, it was like 100 or so miles, and my fuel pumps sounded like this. I'm sorry, but I don't think that's normal. That's fucking crazy. Guys! And I posted it. Some of you were like, yeah, Walbros are loud, but I don't think it was doing justice what it actually sounded like in person. So I hit up Sam and Dan. Dan's such a fucking nice guy. He's like, yo, I'm at work, but I can have a break soon, so just swing by. So I just drove around, kept driving it, and the sound was just bananas. It's hard to explain without hearing it in person, but when I drove to Utah and like, I'm a musician, so like I have crazy ears, and when there's a fucking sound that's just obnoxious or repetitive, it drives me fucking insane. I've actually determined that the whining that it was doing was somewhere between an E and E flat because I fucking listened to it for so long. I was just analyzing it. And I remember on the way back from Utah, I went into Walgreens and I was just walking around. I'm like, I'm hearing that fucking noise in my head right now. I heard it like when I went to bed at night. It was just driving me fucking nuts. And I'm like, I know they're loud. They're not that loud. You shouldn't hear it while you're driving. I mean, I wouldn't hear it over 40 miles an hour or whatever, but around town, like, it's echoing off buildings. Anyways, I'm rambling again. That's why I don't usually like doing these things. But, so I swung by Dan's work, and as I was driving, it was so loud, and it just reeked of gas. Granted, I had the tank venting from the hard line under the hood, so maybe it was just blowing through my air conditioning, even though I had it on recirculation. I don't fucking know. I don't care. I swung by, I pulled up, and Dan quickly was like, yeah, that's kind of loud, even for a wall bro. I don't know, and he kind of came to the same conclusion I did, where it's like, yeah, if I was back in Florida and I was just driving around within a 20, 30-mile radius of my house, I could just see how it goes, see how the fuel pressure is, and if I broke down, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It might just be a loud pump. I know that some of you said that these Walbros are crazy loud. Either way, I don't want to deal with it. It's fucking annoying as hell, especially on a road trip. But the fact that I'm now somewhere between 1,900 miles home and 2,000 or whatever, fuck that. And I gotta drive across like Kansas and stuff, and there's places where I don't really have service. And yeah, you can change a fuel pump on the side of the road, but who the fuck wants to do that? I don't know. It sucks. It's kind of hot too. So I went back to his house. He had already given me a stock top hat with a Supra pump in it. That's what and for all you who are like, put a stock pump in it. Find one. You can't, they're not available. Even when I was trying to get a Supra pump, the only place I could find them new was 3SX, and they wanted like $350 plus $8,000 in shipping. That's insane for a fuel pump. And they actually told me to not get it, that it would overheat the fuel in my tank, which is funny because I think that's what the Walbro was doing. Anyways, I digress. So he had a used one. Initially, I wasn't stoked about putting a used pump in there, but it's a Toyota Supra Denso pump. I just like knowing that it's a perfect fit for the stock top hat. I hated the top hat that was in there. No offense to the guy that made it or whatever, but I don't know, 8 different people, including myself, were unsuccessful at getting the fuel sending unit to work. It just constantly would hit the tray, and it would get stuck at 1 tick above half, and that drove me fucking crazy. So I went back to Dan's, I put the Supra pump in with the stock top hat, and oh voila, my fuel gauge finally fucking works. I'm actually super stoked about that. And I drove back last night. It's like an hour and a half trip. Got back here, wasn't screaming. It's way quieter, which is awesome. And I just feel better about knowing it's in there. And it's close to being a stock replacement. that's another thing. It's just like trying to find a new one of those. I'm all about like keeping it original, keeping it stock, but you can't find the stock pump new, anyways. So where was I? So yeah. Anyways, Dan, such a good guy. He's like, I'm at work. I'll call my wife. I'll let her know you're coming, and you can pull it in the garage and work on it while I'm at work. And so I went back there. I started taking it apart. The top hat was pretty hot to touch. And this is after sitting for a half hour, maybe an hour, because I called Chris from Revenge and talked to him for a while before I started working on it. And yeah, the top hat was hot. The top hat was hot. The top hat was hot, and the pump was pretty hot to touch when I pulled it out. And the fuel was like bathwater warm, but apparently that's not uncommon. So I put the super pump in, and I also, I now know for sure that my tank is venting, because my car now has 4 exhaust pipes. Oh, where the fuck are you? Yeah, so this is secured up here, and it's coming right from the tank. I know this works because there's no nice way to say this, but I've both sucked on and blew on it. But I did, and it's very free. So now I have an exhaust, a little baby exhaust pipe. So I know the tank's venting freely with ease. So, and when I drove back last night, I opened the cap, and of course there was no pressure in there. So I got a Toyota Supra pump in my car, so basically it's a Toyota now, and gave it 50 extra horsepower. Where was I going? Anyways, it's quieter now. It's hot wired. Oh, the other thing that I didn't like about the Gonzo Labs top hat. With the stock top hat, the pump grounds to the hanger assembly itself. And then the sending unit grounds to the harness ground that goes through the bulkhead into the wire harness of the car. On the Gonzo Labs, the instructions specifically tell you to do it the other way around. You ground the pump to the harness ground, and you ground the sending unit to the hanger. I don't like that for some reason. I can explain why. I'm more of a car audio guy than anything, or just an audio guy in general. I'm fucking obsessed with it. And when I was installing back in the day, you pretty much always want an equal to or better ground than the power you have coming in. I don't know if that applies to this shit, but it's a DC electric motor, basically, so I think it would. So I have a hot wire coming from the battery. Well, it's coming from the fuse block under the hood, but it's basically the battery. And it's 10 gauge, I believe. And with the Gonzo Labs thing, it was just ground through that shitty little, what I guess is 14 or 16 gauge, 30-year-old harness ground. I think that could make a motor struggle and run hotter, but I don't know. That's hard on an amplifier, I know that. So I don't know if that was contributing to anything. Anyways, now the stock hat is back in. It's grounded, the pump itself is grounded through the hanger assembly, which means it's grounded through the studs, the tank. It's just a good rock solid ass ground. So I feel better about that, especially since my fucking fuel gauge works finally. So today I have like a 4-hour loop planned. I'm gonna go drive it reluctantly. There's literally a fucking pit in my stomach every time I drive this car now. And I'm getting nervous just talking about it. So if I successfully make that loop today with no bullshit, I will start making my way to Missouri tomorrow. I'm gonna try to break it up over 2 days. It's like 8 or 9 hours a day, something like that, maybe less. I already talked to Chris. I'm like, hey, if you got any transport people on deck, because I'd rather put it on a transport than a tow truck because it's cheaper. But I want to get it to Chris so we can really go over this thing. I need to get the rear diff. It's sloppy. My rear end is loose and sloppy. So I want to get that redone and figure out my driveline vibration, which I almost forgot about already because all this other shit that's going on with the exorcism and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm going to go drive it today and see how it goes. I actually have a good feeling about it. I don't know. It drove really good last night. All the fuel pressures were the same. Oh, and for the people who keep saying that the feed line and return lines are backwards, I'm sorry, but that's retarded. I wouldn't have been able to drive here. I drove here from Florida. I wouldn't be able to drive here from over there. Um, but I don't know. Maybe I'm the idiot. I don't really know. But I don't think that would be the case. And I've had two different fuel filters in it, two different fuel sucks. Like they're not plugged, because I have great fuel pressure and the car runs and drives fine. That fuel pump was so alarming sounding, and I didn't trust it. I know, yeah, sometimes they're loud or whatever, but I have to drive from here to Missouri to Pennsylvania and then eventually back to Florida where I live. I don't want to tow it because I don't want to quit, but I'm getting fucking close. I'm like really close to snapping because this is so fucking frustrating. For the people who say, "Oh, you don't maintain your car," that's bullshit. I fastidiously maintain my car, and I really take care of this thing. And I don't know. It's frustrating as fuck. So I'm gonna go see what happens. And I don't want to hate this car. I don't really want to sell it. I fucking hate it right now. But if it gets me back without any more bullshit, I'll probably keep it. But anyways, I'm gonna hit the road. Wish me luck. Come on, dude. Fucking my YouTube vlog up.